Now, upcoming next, we have a panel discussion on a very interesting topic, that is unlocking the potential of GCCs for financial transformation, innovations and best practices. And for the same, I would like to introduce our moderator for this session, Mr. Prasad Dhongadi, Finance Director, Yahoo. Mr. Prasad is a seasoned finance professional with 2 decades of experience in reputed global organizations such as KPMG, Grant Thornton, and Yahoo. At Yahoo, as finance director, he successfully implemented financial systems and processes, strengthened the tax and regulatory compliance, improved financial controls, and successfully led legal entities structuring M&As and off-spin. He was instrumental in setting up the Center of Excellence for Global Finance Operations in Bangalore for Yahoo. He is also a member on the Board of Directors and CSR Committee of Yahoo entities in India. So let's all put our hands together and welcome Mr. Prasad with a big round of applause. I would like to also take this opportunity to introduce our moderators, Mr. Srinivasan Sarvabhouman, Group CFO, Sagility. Let's all welcome Mr. Srinivasan as well with a round of applause. And next, Mr. Narayan Panda, VP Finance, EqualizeRCM Services. I would like you all to please welcome Mr. Raj as well. Can you all please put our hands together for Mr. Narayan Panda? Next, Mr. Pruthviraj Dora, Head of Finance, IT and RD, Stellantis. Let's all welcome Mr. Prutviraj Dora with a big round of applause. And last but definitely not the least, I would like to welcome Mr. Rahul Sangal, Senior VP Finance, Digital Transformation, Medi. So can we all put our hands together and welcome our speakers, our panelists and moderator with a huge round of applause. This is the last session before the lunch break, and I promise. So let's show a little bit more of energy and welcome the gentlemen on the dais.
Good afternoon, everyone. I know it's already late, waiting for lunch. I'm also hungry a little bit, but yes, the topic is very interesting, and so I'm still excited to discuss with the esteemed panel on the important topic that how GCCs are contributing to the success of the organizations. I mean, when we just look back a few years back, so most of these centers are kind of predominantly considered as number crunching units or query resolutions or support functions, but not anymore. GCCs have kind of evolved over a period of time to be the center of excellence, doing a lot more valuation activities compared to what they were doing before. They are playing the role of strategic importance, driving the digital transformation journey, finance automations, and many more in the organization. So it's not just a kind of cost arbitrage, but it's kind of a smart move from the global companies to kind of set up and get more value addition activities with the great talent pool which we have in India. And it's very humbling and nice to see that this talent pool is not just kind of following the playbook rather than actually writing it, I would say. So with that, I will not take much time. We have the esteemed panel with diverse experience from healthcare to outsourcing industries to automotive sectors, leading the digital transformation, etc. So I'll let them speak more, and to start with Rahul, who actually kind of leads digital transformation in your existing organization and also past organization. So just wanted to understand from you how the evolution has happened over a period of time for these GCCs, how they are kind of fitting into the overall corporate strategies. So some thoughts on that.
Thanks, Prasad. Thank you so much for having me here, first of all. I think GCCs, all of us know, were very, very transactional when they began with. And the focus always was initially on the cost optimization, cost reduction, or some efficiency improvement in as many words. From there, the changes started happening, and I think what became more important was standardization and also process excellence. That I think was the second phase for all of these GCCs. And now they are entering into, as we say, the transformational phase wherein they would perhaps become talent magnet for many of the functions which are not outsourced but are critical for the organization They would hire internally for many functions from the GCCs. They would perhaps become the strategic viewpoint for the CFOs as well, the global CFOs too. They would rely on many of these people in the GCCs to look up to in terms of their expertise in what they can learn from in terms of transformation for the global finance function as well. And I think in the months, quarters, and years to come, all of these global capability centers would continue to play a far more important and transformational role in all of these times to come for us.
Yes, definitely. Thanks, Rahul. So, Raj, you are coming from healthcare sector. So, how you are seeing the evolution in that sector?
Yeah, let me do a little bit of context setting before I answer a question. So, first of all, maybe we are in the fourth wave of GCCs right now. The first one maybe in Y2K 2000, where all those big companies, they wanted to set up their shop in India. They wanted this entire IT back office support in India. That kind of, and there's like so banks, HSBC, all of them, those big names came into India. That, I would say that last for about 8 years. And then came in 2008, we all know that what happened with the complete financial meltdown, where a lot of companies and the financial institutions in Europe and other countries, they are gone into massive stress, right? They wanted support. They wanted cost. Cost was a bigger factor as well. Regulatories, because they have to comply with a lot of regulatory requirements. So that again, that's when also second wave has started, where India has seen a lot of companies came to India and set up their shops. And that kind of continued till, I would say, 2020, right? In 2020, we all know that COVID hit us, and then, things are like, it's the biggest curse for humanity, and then things all went for a stop. And that has again impacted the European and American companies, financial management companies, where, they're, what they were doing, they're having those branches, and they were having agents. They're like more into physical form, right? When COVID hit, everybody started to sit at home. Everything has to be digitalized. So that's when they look for India again to focus on supporting the IT, maybe the mobile applications, all that. And now while we are talking about AI, I mean, too many people have already spoken about AI. We're in the era of AI, which is basically the fourth web, right? And we are talking about automations, and finance team also has seen a complete change, right? Back in 2000, maybe 2005, 6, when I started, when the GCCs were outsourcing to India, the focus was only very few things, like, do the back office job, right? Do the AP processing, AR processing, little bit of reporting. But over the course of, I would say, last 10, 15 years, things have evolved. And now we are talking about M&A. The complete M&A activities is happening in India. Real-time budgeting, forecasting, it is like, they understand the business, and doing the forecasting, that is also helping, the companies in the US, which is headquartered in the US or Europe countries, they are more dependent on GCCs basically in India, right? And what we are looking at probably in the next 4-5 years, where there'll be, again, the mid-size and smaller companies, they're going to set up their shops in India. And it is the great time, I will say, Amrit Kal of GCC in India. So I'll put that way. Thank you.
Great. Thanks for the interesting journey which you elaborated actually on that front. So, Prithvi, you come from the automotive sector. How you are seeing the trend, especially what are the kind of key parameters you track from the success of the GCCs, and what are activities they are kind of doing? Is it like even the global compliance also they are kind of handling? How?
Thanks, Prasad. So interesting question. KPIs are kind of the treasure hunt for the performance bonuses or the appraisals, right? And the benchmark is pretty high now. The way the leadership looks at the KPI tracking and measure the performance. Now it's like words are not numbers and efforts are not results, right? If I can put it in two perspectives, one is the operational KPIs that we measure in GCCs and the financial KPIs. Now, if you look at the operational KPIs, it's the execution excellency, the launches, milestones, the total production cost reductions. Empowerment and efficient R&D is the second KPI that we track, where we measure the spend controlling on R&D, CapEx, the value optimization that we bring throughout the year. And then the third one and the important one is the people aspect. So we measure through the employee survey the well-being of the employees, the participation, the motivation of the employees, and then we track the diversity and the number of patents that we file during the year, right? Now, when I come to the financial KPIs, the number one KPI that we track is the forecast accuracy. Now, where are we heading? Are we in the right direction? Every quarter we have a rolling forecast and we measure, okay, actuals, how close are we to the actuals? Are we in that tolerance limit or not? The second one is the spend controlling again, which is kind of the project spend, non-project spend, the spend by category, spend by functions. And then the last one is what is the process improvement that we bring individually? How many hours of, let's say we eliminate the redundancies, the manual work, what are the automations we do? So in terms of hours, we measure what is the change that we bring from last year to this year. Right? So it's a very robust controlling of KPIs, and that is how the transformations we bring in the GCC.
Wow, that's many more actually, not just the kind of transactions which we used to have. So
just to add to what Prithvi said. Hi, firstly, welcome. My name is Srini. I manage the finance function for Sagility. Like Prithvi said, this GCCs or the finance function ranges anywhere not just from accounts payable or an accounting all the way to a very high level KPO or even a legal process outsourcing. Like he talked about the compliance piece. He did touch upon forecasting as an accuracy. And the second point he said was the spend control. See, what happens is based on the business dynamics, when the going is not good, automatically the forecast recasts the budgets lower to a spend level, and that is what is the new budget. So what happens is the forecast becomes the new budget at every point of time. It's like resetting what's the required run rate after 2 hours, what's the required run rate after 12 hours. So the goals get reset every time, and the efficiency of what is being posted by the teams are becoming new targets basically. So I think the demand for GCCs in terms have significantly grown, and like Prasad said, it has become from a cost arbitrage to a skill arbitrage, and pretty much now the GCs are the brainchild, or they are driving pretty much the entire industry, I would say.
Thanks, Srini. That's quite insightful. So would you also like to talk about more about what are kind of innovations these GCCs are doing, and also how they are kind of contributing to the overall global organization in terms of case studies where the innovation has happened here, which is kind of adopted globally? Some thoughts on that?
Yeah, thank you. So here, the organization where I represent, we handle pretty much all the functions out of India, and we support US, Philippines, Jamaica, Colombia, besides India. So right from forecasting and right from entire accounting, I would say we do pretty much end-to-end of all of it, and we cater to the respective geography statutory needs as well. So there is not a dearth of talent. From a people perspective, there is not a dearth of talent. As I think Prithvi mentioned, the process improvement needs to happen at every point of time, where it has no more been a measure where you say, I handled 100 claims today, or I processed 2,000 invoices today. Today, pretty much everything is handled by the system. So what we developed was, just to give an example, we developed an interface for all the vendors. I'm talking about an accounts payable processing where automation has significantly helped. We created, once the budgets are approved and a purchase order is released based on the approved budget, it goes and hits into the portal, and those are staying in that portal forever. And when we ask the vendors to not just scan or submit invoices, we give them a portal where they submit the invoices with basic fields, all relevant fields. If they want to get paid, they have to fill in every data. So, and the system intelligently, using a little bit of an AI, I would say largely on bots. It's a lot of bots are used. It picks up data, it compares it with what is there in the system. It then, post everything is cleared by the system, it goes through a workflow mechanism to the actual recipient of the service. Hey, if it's a technology purchase, then it goes whether this purchase has actually happened, or if it's a service in the administrative sector, has this service actually been consumed by somebody or not. Then post that evaluation, it triggers back and gets automatically posted back into the ERP system. So we have a workday system, so these are integrated. So basically what happens is our accounts payable employees are no more data entry accounts payable clerks. Rather, everybody gets elevated to the role of an auditor, and they check for accuracy and then they post it into the accounting system. So in a way, like the way how things are happening is you have to pretty much maneuver the system or turn the system so that it does all the mundane activities, and wherever human intervention is required or wherever there is a brain power that is required to reason out, those are the places where it has been approved by the human being. So I will just give that as an example.
Prasad,
any other case studies?
While, so Medi Assist is the benefits administrator for health insurance in the country, and we by far the largest, so we process health insurance claims for almost, I think, 25 crore Indians at this point of time. Right? So we are so large that the next 5 combined are still smaller than us. So there are 28 health insurance companies in this country, and we work with we work with every one of them. Now the thing is that they rely largely on us for a lot of fraud detection in this industry. Now, estimates globally suggest that this industry is plagued with about 8 to 10% fraud. And these are global estimates. If we were to perhaps do certain estimates in this country, I'm pretty sure the number would only be higher, not lower. The best of the health insurance companies in this country are able to find still less than 1% fraud. Right? I'm talking of the largest health insurer in the country today. We at Medi Assist are finding close to about 3% fraud. So we are 2x better than the best in health insurance player and 3x of the industry at this point of time. How are the health insurance companies now leveraging? We just recently announced a partnership with Star Health Insurance, which is the largest health insurer in the country, that we would actually be processing the health insurance claims for them as well. All of their health insurance claims will now be processed by us. They would rely on our AI ML driven fraud detection engine to detect frauds in all of their claims as well, right? They would rely on our hospital network too, wherein we have preferred rates for every single ailment that you can think of, which you or your loved ones would have to go through, unfortunately, right? So essentially what I'm trying to say is that not just in terms of a finance center for a GCC, there is a lot of financial bandwidth that we are adding in the industry for every single health insurer because of our proprietary fraud detection engine that we have been able to build for the kind of data that we've been able to process over the last 15 to 20 years of our existence.
That's a great example. Thanks.
Yeah, I echo with what he said. And US healthcare industry is one of the largest in the world, private sector industry in the world, where it's about 4.7 trillion as of 2023, which is even bigger than India's GDP. and fraud, waste, abuse is almost 7%, and that number is consistent across the globe. That is something that is fascinating. And it is not just about fraud, it is abuse of the system is significantly higher. So whether somebody doesn't even require an ECG or a scan is being asked to do so when there is already a report that is available which pushes the patient for a particular treatment. So these things have been, to a large extent, been identified by the invent of AI. And especially with these coming in, it has got the ability to correlate the procedure that was given by a different hospital or by a different physician, or a claim that could have got separately submitted for processing. And then again, after that's a separate claim that was submitted, it has got approved and paid. And after a month, the same person comes back to a hospital, takes another ECG which was not required, and still goes through, submits a second claim along with the surgery. So we do not have, earlier we never had systems to process these claims in the sense like, yeah, every claim will be processed on an independent basis. But today we have systems that are available which can correlate the entire history of a particular patient and see what is not required in the second instance and avoid or reduce those unnecessary payments.
Yeah, so we work with close to about 12,000 corporates in this country, and close to about 300 people lose jobs because of us every single year, largely because we are able to identify that, you know, they have submitted fraudulent claims. 300 people lose jobs.
Yeah, I think we are more like a Medi assist. We are more than a TPA++ in the US healthcare space. And in our organization, we have about 2,000 clinicians exclusively doing this clinical work just on fraud, waste, and abuse.
So it looks like GCCs are not just doing the operation part, but mastering in making sure the operations are running effectively in a great way. Okay, great. Good to hear that. And obviously, all these innovations and contributions comes with challenges. And just wanted to touch base on that part. What are the challenges people have kind of come across, and how did you tackle them?
Yeah, I'll take that. So first of all, we are talking about three aspects, whether it is GCC or any company, which is PPT, right? People, process, and technology. We just talked about technology. I'm sure every company does that, some fashion or the other. They develop something for AI process. I mean, we do in-house AR process, reporting automation, all that is done. But when it comes to people, one of the things I don't know if many people talk about it is the cultural difference. Do the headquarters in US or Europe, any country, understand India's culture? Right? They should not change India's culture. India has got 3 days marriage. That's fine, right? They should not be questioning it. So that is one of the things, we are saying, oh, you have 30 days of leaves. That's too much. We have a Friday issue. We have a Monday issue. So basically managing the people, it's the biggest issue that I see, where the expectation mismatch between the headquarter and the GCC center. That is, I feel, one of the challenge, which probably I have experienced it in the last 15, 20 years. That's one. And second one is leadership, empowering the leaders in India. Those people should not be just the order taker from the US side of it or UK side or any of the company they are managing the GCCs in India, right? They should be empowering the leaders, local leaders in India, so that they go and probably upskill or rescale whatever they need to do so that they can manage it. So that is the second big item in my mind, where empowering the leadership. First one is, again, understanding the culture, not to change the culture, adopt India's culture. If you want to grow, we are talking about, I'll give you some numbers from Google, that 2023, we are talking about the GCC market is going to be 100+ billion, right? Which means what we are talking about right now is 1.5, 1.8 million people that can go to 3 million or 4.5 billion. That can happen only when people understand those cultural, they have to sensitize on cultural differences. The next one I would say is India ready for the growth? Again, we are talking about every week, 2 or 3 GCCs are getting set up in India. So they are talking about 115, 120 GCC will be set up probably every year in the next 5 years, right? Are we ready for that? Do you have the skill set. Right now, people are, yeah, we have a lot of financial people. I mean, people are 1.5, 2 million people are coming out. They're doing MBAs, they're doing BComs and all that. But when it comes to skills, right, the niche skills, right, what are we doing about it? And are we just going to the universities and colleges, telling them what kind of skill set we required so that they can teach them or they can add that into their, into their process, whether it is BCom or MBA or whatever. Last one, I would say, again, it is again very much related. Tier 1 versus Tier 2 cities, right? We are talking about expanding to the Tier 2 cities. What about the real estate? Are we ready about that? So are we ready to have this burst of GCs? Again, what we are seeing is India is the country everybody looking up to. Cost was a factor, I would say. When we started, every American, whatever they pay, they were paying 3 people in India, right? That has changed right now. I think probably the cost has gone up, but also the skill set also has improved. So that is something companies should look for, and that will help to overcome all the challenges. And I'm sure India, as I said, is Amrit Kal of GCC right now. We are heading towards the 2030 with a target of reaching $100+ billion market. Thank you.
Yeah, that's a good summary, but I would actually, these are all more from the company standpoint. The challenges that I see is more on, one, the infrastructure in the country. While it's a great thing that we have people, we can always build facilities. Even I read in the newspapers a couple of days, Chandrababu Naidu has actually signed off at 1 rupee a square feet for GCCs. Just two days back, about some millions and millions of square feet they have signed up. So there are great organizations, great corporations, but one of the biggest challenge in our country today is the infrastructure. How will people reach offices? How are the transportation system? How are the roads? And where will we go for water? So it's a challenge, but I'm sure we will have, with our collective brains, we can put together and we can overcome that. And we have been managing it. We have been tolerating it to a large extent. And I think that's a way of, the Indian way of managing the world, I would say. And the second challenge, I would say, is some easing out on the way to do business with India. If there are some easier ways on the taxation, or if there are more incentives that are given to the companies to encourage to set up GCCs, simplifying largely from a federal standpoint, that can actually help. So I would say taxation and how repatriate monies, because people invest monies into the country with an intent to take their returns out after some point of time. So repatriation today from India is a challenge.
You want to add?
So we are still talking about, how would global capability centers work out in terms of the corporates or the organizations that they service. We also are, literally a capability center for all of the policy holders as well, not just the insurance companies or the brokers or the regulator. So I think what is also of paramount importance is how patient are we in terms of the investments that we are making in the technology space. Typically, when you invest in technology, it hurts your near-term margins. And when that happens, the analyst community is all over you, asking you as to when will this yield results for us, right? So, and then let me again give you an example in terms of how we have tried to become a capability enhancement center for all of the policy holders that we have. Typically, all of you would be holding a corporate health insurance policy, and I can bet on that less than 5% of you would have ever read that policy that you hold. Nobody ever reads the health insurance policy that we have. And none of us would actually understand what are the kind of complications or clauses that exist in any of those policies. And by the way, every single policy is different.
We rely on Medi assist.
You just rely on us, right? There is a fantastic clause called UCR, right? A UCR states usual, customary, and reasonable. And again, I'm sure nobody knows about it. Every health insurance company in this country has a right to deduct any amount of money from your health insurance claim basis this clause. How does this clause work? We are sitting right next to Aster Hospital here. Let's say you go for a knee replacement surgery in this hospital, the right next to us, and let's say you incur a bill of $1.5 lakh, right? The insurance policy states that you are supposed to be paid, let's say, $1,40,000 for it. However, the insurance company would invoke this clause and tell you that Manipal Hebal is about less than a kilometer away. You could have gone to a Manipal Hebal where this same knee replacement surgery should have been done in ₹1,05,000, and hence you are eligible only for ₹1,05,000.
Oh, that's
right?
interesting.
And this UCR applies to every single health insurance policy, by the way, which is why we built something called a navigator where you can go onto the app or the website, check for how much would you have to pay for any nearby hospital in your vicinity to get the same surgery done. And hence you can always change the hospital that you would want to go to of course, save on your own expenses as well.
Great, great. So now in the interest of time, everyone is kind of waiting for the lunch. So let us conclude with one final question on talking about the future of GCCs, how you see them playing the role in a way greater contributing to the success of the organization. So Prithvi, you want to kind of talk about?
So thanks, Prasad. Now I know that from morning we heard this word AI many times, right? And we are kind of a bit suffocated with that one. But unfortunately it's true. The deeper penetration that is happening in AI, especially if I talk about my company, right? Stellantis is one of the largest automaker of the world with iconic brands like Jeep, Citroën, Peugeot, Opel Vauxhall, Ram, does so on and so forth. Now, in India, we have these technical centers where we support engineering development, the IT, global IT support, as well as the software, digital experience of the car. Now, there's so much of deeper penetration of AI is happening. Typically, if you launch a new product, new car in the market, the development life cycle is kind of 3 years plus. But with AI, with a lot of simulation, impact study and everything, it's now the expectation is almost half. That's how a significant change is happening. Second is, day by day, the organization are becoming very leaner and leaner, right? Now that's where the cost efficiency comes from the GCCs. And the speed and agility of the decision making on the transformations is going to play a big role. So that's how I would summarize.
Thanks, Ambi. Srini, you want to kind of share some concluding thoughts on the future?
Yeah, I think a lot has been talked about on AI. So AI definitely helps where the data is unstructured. So otherwise, a lot of rules, IT automations have happened. So the advent of AI helps in getting unstructured data, putting it into a meaningful form, and then moving to where we want to. So I would say GCCs, finance automation are going to be the future, and more are being expected from finance folks to deliver.
Okay, great.
Thank you all.
I think that's it from our side. Great to hear your thoughts, and thank you for taking the time and sharing this. We are open for questions now, if at all. If at all somebody wants. Yes.
So no worries, we can actually catch up during my session as well.
There's one person there, so.
Yeah, so my name is Anurag. Just want to check on a question which is relating to the compliance part of GCC. So, GCC is directly or indirectly a part of extended arm of the foreign ownership of a company, and the ultimate objective is to get the synergies from the cost and talent part, right? from the taxation landscape, it always remains a gray area in terms of the transfer pricing mechanism. So what are the best practices or the hurdles which you see and how it can be sorted?
So let me take that. So good question. Yes, the transfer pricing regulations, especially in India, and if you talk about the service sector, right, the margin is pretty high. Now, if you look at the global average for intercompany transaction, if it is around 5 to 6%, in the Indian taxation officers, the transfer price, they would expect 12 to 14, 15%. I would say not to worry too much. This is where our role comes to explain the corporate officers or the tax officers, because the GCC centers is anyway intercompany transaction, right? Left pocket, right pocket. It doesn't hardly matters whether you talk about 15% or 14%. The business is judged by the cost performance, not by the revenue that we are charging or putting some margins. Because anyway in the intercompany markup you are eliminating them, right? So I would suggest that we play safe. We do not challenge or kind of, let's say we put 6% and the tax officers goes round and round asking lots of questions. Here we need to explain to our tax, corporate structure, make them clear that this is just an intercompany eliminations, right? And it's not going to affect. Yeah?
Yeah, but the Indian government wants more money, and so is the foreign government also wanting more money. So the right way to play it is keep it as a cost plus. And again, like Prithvi said, a reasonable range can be anywhere between 4% to 25%. That's what we are facing. So
Yeah,
it is a challenge. It is a challenge.
I think just to add, the Indian government want, 25, 30%, 50%, probably. They don't want any loss. They don't want anything go below 10% or something. So yeah, as you said, play safe, but cost plus, or we can go for a transfer price model, but stay outside that 10, 12%. Avoid the questions. They will not listen to the questions. They will just add double taxation, and they will say, okay, you have not met the profitability target. They will increase it. So yeah, play safe. Stay within that range. Thank you.
And just to add, better to have a better documentation on what are the kind of actually roles and responsibilities which are handled in GCCs, how they are contributing to the overall business, what is the nature of kind of transactions between the intercompanies, etc. And also there are various mechanisms like APA, MAPI, or taking the safe harbor and other steps, which definitely the consultants will suggest what's better based on the kind of nature of transactions you do. Okay, I think that's it. Any other questions? Else we'll discuss more during the lunch break. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, panelists. Can we please put a big round of applause for our moderator and panelists for having such an engaging and interesting session just before the lunch.
Thanks to the, actually this audience.
Yes.
During the lunch, they have kind of stayed and encouraged us to speak.
No, actually the audience is already out.
All right, thank you so much. I would like to now request Mr. Kedarnath Chaudhary, CFO 2050 Healthcare, to do the honor of felicitating the gentleman on stage.